This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast about the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morse, and this week we're looking back on a win Sunday at Merrill Gym that the women's tennis team won't soon forget. Plus, the baseball team broke in the new Leahey Field turf with a great pitching performance, and we wrap up the squash season with outgoing interim head coach Ricky Silbersher. All that and more coming up on the Bates Bobcast. The women's tennis team has won 3 matches in a row, and the Bobcats are 2-1 in NESCAC play. On Friday, the Bobcats swept Smith College in a non-conference match by a count of 7-0. Then, Bates took down number 16 nationally ranked Williams by a score of 4-3 on Sunday. It was the first win over Williams in program history and the first win over a top 25 team since 2012. Senior Olivia Gidlow went undefeated on the week, winning both her matches at number 2 doubles and both her matches at number 4 singles. Her win at number 4 singles against the Eves clinched the match for Bates, and she is our female Bobcat of the week. Well, Olivia, before we start talking about the weekend for the women's tennis team, this is really your first year now as a senior playing singles. You've been in the doubles lineup for a long time here at Bates, but now playing number 4 singles. What's that transition been like before only having to worry about doubles and now you're playing 2 matches a day?
Yeah, it's a very different mindset. I think going in playing doubles, it's very fast paced, it's very quick, and definitely letting that go before going into singles is something I've never had to deal with, that transition. Honestly, it's kind of nice. You get to finish up doubles, go into singles and sort of settle into your match and have time to figure it out. Because that's one thing in doubles, you don't have a lot of time really to get into a rhythm. It's just kind of hitting back and forth. So yeah, it's been fun to kind of work on that transition from doubles to singles. Definitely a lot more tennis, which is good. But yeah, it's definitely different, but it gives me a chance to get into more of a rhythm, which is fun, and figure out the player, which is a really cool aspect of singles.
And when growing up, I assume it was mostly singles, right?
Yeah, I really was not a doubles player until I came to college. So yeah, it was definitely it's interesting. I was only playing singles up until here, and then I feel like I was able to hone in on doubles and work on that and get really strong at the net, and I think that has also transitioned to singles, which has helped me a lot, and coming in, which is something I didn't do before college really. So yeah, it's interesting how the different skills in doubles and singles translate into each other.
You were playing doubles right away as a first year. What did Coach Gassingay, at the time being the head coach of the women's team, what did he see in you that made him want to put you at doubles?
It's a good question. Honestly, I think my reaction time at the net is one of my skills, I think, being able to just see the ball, quick hands. And then I think also my shots tend to be deeper and heavier, and tend to set up the person at the net pretty well, which is really fun. And at the time, I was playing with Drew Williams, yep. I think, a lot, and we had a lot of good chemistry, which was fun, and just 2 first years out there, it was a really cool dynamic. So yeah. And
now this year you're playing with Elise Hepburn, a sophomore. You're of course a senior now. Really against Williams, 6-1, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty dominating performance. So what was clicking so well in that match? When did you realize, we're a pretty good handle on this one?
I think. For that one, we had a really good warm-up. We both thought, going into that, we were okay, we both feel really good. And then going into the doubles, the first game, honestly, we came off of that really strong, and we were okay, we can really do this. And I think we both were just, communicating really well. I knew where she was going on the serve. I knew where I had to be. And then I knew on the returns, I knew where she was going to be. And we just were both we're just going to be so aggressive. We're just going to go after everything. If we miss, we miss. But, we're just going to close really hard. And I think that helped us.
I had Iris and Bella on last week, and they mentioned how when they play doubles, they, call out, different types of formations and stuff like that. Do you do that with Elise?
Yeah, I think honestly, what happened, I think, is that we finally figured each other out. Mm-hmm. We figured out how to play well with each other, and what formations worked on which side, and when the one person was serving, and she has a really great out wide serve, so we use that to our advantage a lot. And then just switching things up, using our we kind of realized that once we started like thinking really strategically, often that helps. So yeah, we kind of just like use that and just use the momentum. Like we kept just not letting them in and not letting them get a chance, and I think that was helpful.
We have a new head women's tennis coach this year in Deepak Sharma. Obviously, Coach Castingate still coaching the men's team, but now Deepak running the women's program. What's he been like learning from him?
It's been really great. I mean, obviously, just getting the chance to play singles has been really,
really
fun. Yeah, it's been really cool. I think it's interesting with him. He gives us a chance to try and figure it out on our own. Like, gives us the space. But he's also always there. Like, if I'm like, Coach, I'm struggling. Like, he's always there. He's gonna give me tips. And just honestly, during my Williams match, during the singles match, I was like, can I, any tips, like anything to like keep going? And he just kept saying like, believe in yourself and like have that confidence. And like, sometimes that's really all that you need. And that helped me kind of get to the finish line.
Well, we talked about this, but yeah, you dropped the first set. So you were down 1-0, and it's hard to come back from that, I feel like. But you did. What adjustments were made, if any?
I lost the first set and I was like, I want to go out swinging if I'm going to go out. And I think, I just wanted to, it's hard, it's easier said than done, but I was like, I'm going to hit the ball, I'm going to stay loose and just like kind of treat it like how I play in practice, like mentally, and just kind of go after the ball and just take it one point at a time, because I think sometimes if you think of it as like, oh, I have 2 more sets after this, like it kind of builds up, but like I just took it point by point. I saw the light, I saw it turn around, and I was like, okay, like I can do this. So.
It's funny, we talked about how the match was still going after you clinched it, but looking at the video, it looks like a lot of people were watching your match and they all celebrated with you.
Yeah.
So how did that format kind of work? Because the match was still going, but there were a lot of people who still got a chance to watch you win.
Yeah, so during my match, I went out on the first round of singles, and I was looking around and I was seeing all my teammates, and they were all winning, and I was like, oh wow, like all right, I need to step up. That was partly in the second set. I was like, I really think that we can do this, and gave me like a little bit of confidence to move forward. But yeah, so 3 of them finished before me, and and so then I think two more matches went on, but I was in the third set, so a lot of people were able to come on court and watch, which was very exciting, and I've never been in that position before, like never having played singles really until this year, and then being like the deciding match, because I had done the math in my head, and I was like, oh, okay, like it's kind of all on me, and so so I kept just telling myself, I was like trying to take the pressure off myself, but at the same time, I was like, this is where you really need to lock in and focus and keep my head down, kind of sort of thing.
Really cool to have your teammates also be able to celebrate you right away, pretty much, right?
Yeah. that was really cool. I've always wanted to experience that, so it felt really nice. Yeah.
So after it was all over, the team gets together and you kind of give each other shout outs, it looked like. What's that kind of post-match meeting sort of like, I guess?
Yeah, we have kind of always done that. We get in a huddle afterwards, and win or lose, we were able to kind of shout out our teammates and sort of just, appreciate one another and all the effort that we put in, because that's like, our matches are often like 5 or 6 hours. Right. So like a lot of effort and a lot of work goes into that. And like, while it was really cool being like the deciding match in the clinch, so many people had to win in order for me to get to that position. So like, we're just able to shout out, the people that we saw working really hard, and, even people who weren't playing, who were cheering really loud, like that all goes into how well we do. So yeah, it's really cool to be able to like thank people and like recognize people for what they've done that day.
Who did you see among your teammates? Kind of who did you give shout outs to?
It's hard because like everybody contributes so much, but across the line when I was playing singles, I was next to Ava Lyon, Iris, and Bella, and they were all just being so competitive, and like I could hear Bella because I wasn't next to her, but I could hear her from all the way down the line, and like that energy was building me up so much and pushed me a lot, because I mean if they weren't giving me that energy and showing me like how hard we can compete, I don't know if I would have been able to get that third set. So yeah, I definitely would say Bella, she played amazing. Iris, Ava, everyone played so well. So yeah.
Absolutely. The women's tennis team on the road now for a little bit at Skidmore this Friday. at RPI as well. You're playing. Wait a second. Okay, so you have a morning match on Friday, 10 a.m. at Skidmore, and then you're playing RPI at 5 o'clock. They must be fairly close to each other.
Yeah, not totally sure. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a drive, but yeah we do have a doubleheader, and then a match. I think on Sunday.
On Sunday, yeah, at Vassar. So a little trip to New York.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on these upcoming matches? Non-conference opponents, but all ranked within the top 35.
I'm really excited, especially going off of this win against Williams. I think we all have a really excited energy and more confidence in our team as a whole. I think. I'm really excited. I think playing teams that aren't in our conference and who we know are really strong teams, it gives us an opportunity to kind of push ourselves again. And sometimes I think I play better against people who I know are really strong, and you're able to play loose and also just push yourself to the next level. So I think it'll be really fun and a good challenge for us, especially the doubleheader.
Great. And then the next home match for Bates women's tennis will be Sunday, March 30th against Middlebury at 10 a.m. March 30, kind of borderline whether that we Merrill or Wallach, but depending on the weather, we shall see. Olivia, any other thoughts you want to share on this win over Williams, the first one in program history you want to talk about, we haven't got to discuss?
Like I said, I'm just super proud of all of us and, all the work that we put in the practices and the morning lifts. And I don't know, I'm just proud of the team. And I think the closeness that we have developed through this year is really great, and I think it's going to push us to the next level.
All right, Olivia Gidlow, our female Bobcat of the week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The men's lacrosse team earned a 16-7 win last Tuesday over Keene State, but then the Bobcats suffered their first loss of the season, falling 17-11 to number 18 nationally ranked Middlebury on Saturday. Nevertheless, Bates is off to a strong start at 5-1 and 2-1 in NESCAC play. Senior Ben Miller has played a big role in the early success for Bates, as he leads the NESCAC in caused turnovers so far, averaging 2.83 caused turnovers per game. Miller was named to the USILA D3 Team of the Week last week, and after two more strong performances, he is our male Bobcat of the Week. Well, Ben, senior here for the men's lacrosse team, leading the NESCAC right now in caused turnovers with your long stick midi there for the Bobcats. Take us through that role. I know you've done it since day one here, but what's that role kind of like? How do you approach it?
I really like being a long stick midfielder. It honestly allows me to play on both sides of the midfield line because I'm a midfielder. I get to mostly play defense because I got the long stick, but it also gives me the opportunity to go and push in transition, spark some goals, maybe assists to some of the attackmen. So I like being able to, move around the entire field and really display all the skills that I have as a lacrosse player rather than just my defensive work.
I'm curious, is there a rule how many people can have long sticks, or is there strategy to it?
Yeah, so there is a rule.
Okay.
You can only have 4 long sticks on the field at a time, and so usually you'll have 3 close defensemen who will stay on the defensive side of the ball, but then you're allowed that long stick midfielder to kind of get you that fourth pull, and then because he's a midfielder, he's allowed to go on both sides of the field, which is why I really like it. I love being able to run up and down, play both sides of the ball. It's really fun.
And you've had a couple goals recently. I know with the long pull, it could be a little bit harder, I think, probably to shoot, probably to control where that ball's going. How do you practice that?
I just go into Underhill. Now that the turf is down, I get a lot of work in there shooting on a goal. But for the most part, it's nice to be able to shoot with a long pull because you can get a lot more power on it with the more leverage. And from the goalie perspective, it's a little harder to see where the ball is coming from because it's coming from so high up as opposed to the short sticks where you can see their stick the whole time while you're shooting. So definitely a little bit of an advantage when I get on the offensive side, but also, like you said, it might be tough to find that space that you need to get the shot off,
I remember against Keene State, you had a play on defense where you literally, I think, knocked the guy's stick clean out of his hands, scooped it up, ran it down the field. That must be the most gratifying type play, right?
Yeah, it's super fun. We call those a yard sale because you put their stick everywhere. It's like it's up for sale, so it's super fun when you can get an opportunity like that.
So you're a senior now, but take us back. Scarsdale, New York, growing up. How did you first get into the sport?
I really started playing because of my older brother. He started playing lacrosse before I did, and then I was trying to find some youth lacrosse programs to join. There was definitely a really good program in my town with a lot of good talent, but I really got started because my older brother was playing and he had a couple extra sticks lying around. So growing up, I think I started actually playing in 4th grade, But leading up to that, I had a stick in my hand just kind of playing around with my older brother. So he was definitely a big influence in me starting to play lacrosse.
How much older was he?
He is 3 years older, but 4 grades. So
Okay.
Never got to play with him in high school, but playing with his friends, we were always out throwing the ball around, having fun. So that was good.
Was there a competitive rivalry there a little bit?
Oh yeah. The backyard games went really hard. We had a little goal set up, and we'd have our sticks and just go back and forth shooting on each other. That was a really fun time. I miss those days for sure.
What led you to Bates? What appealed to you about coming up here to be a Bobcat?
Yeah, so Maine has always been a second home for me. I have a lot of extended family that lives down in Kennebunk. So before I even came to Bates, I had been to Maine every year of my entire life. And then Coach Peter Lasagna, before Coach Danonino, he reached out to me. And he was just such a genuine guy, like really cared about developing me as not only a player, but a young man too. And I really appreciated that. And also, my parents really instilled in me from the moment I started looking at schools to go to that, lacrosse was a means to an end. I wasn't really going to go play professional lacrosse anymore, so use it to get into the best school possible. And Bates being such a good academic school, like there was really no doubt once I got an offer from Coach Lasagna that this is where I wanted to be.
And then this year, the team is off to a very strong start. What's been the key, you think, to the team's early success here?
I just really think everybody is bought into what Coach Nino is trying to, instill in our team, whether it's physicality or just cheering on each other, whether we're going up or going down. Everybody just super bought into the process, and I don't think I've ever been a part of a team as close to this one. Like, we're hanging out all the time outside of practice hours, outside of lifting, and it's a really good vibe among the team. No matter if we're up by a couple goals or down, like nobody's really getting down on each other. Nobody's really getting too high. We know what our goals are, and everybody's super focused on that. So having everybody bought into what we're trying to do as a team has been really helpful in terms of, getting prepared and following through with our game plans.
Now, 2 years ago, we mic'd you up during a practice, and you're obviously a very talkative guy. Are you that talkative during games? What's your kind of style out there?
Oh, yeah. I definitely talk a little bit during the games, maybe a little bit too much, but, I just love it really helps me bring my competitive energy out because if I'm talking to my guys or even the other team a little bit, that just brings my game up to the point where I have to kind of back up what I'm saying, so to speak. But honestly, it's just such a fun time going out there and talking to our guys, but also talking to the other teams, seeing, some of the stuff that they do. But yeah, I'm definitely a big talker out there for sure.
Another big part about being a long stick midfielder, it looks like, at least for Bates, and I think other teams too, is you're in there on the face-offs, like helping out on the wing, right? Take us through that role.
Oh, yeah. Face-offs are a huge part of the game in terms of just getting the possession for us. And, we got Miles, who's a great face-off guy, and we do a lot of work outside of practice just discussing, where he's going to get the ball out off of a face-off, where he wants me to be, whether it's, attacking open space or boxing the guy on my side out so that Miles has space to kind of exit and get the ball. It's a really cohesive unit right now. No matter if it's the first line or the second line, everybody's talking about everything and making sure everybody's on the same page, and it's such a big part of the game that if we're succeeding and doing well at it, it helps our offense and defense tremendously. We got to get our offense the ball so they can score, and on the other side, if we get the ball, our defense gets a rest so that they're 100% every time the ball comes onto our defensive end. So it's a huge part of the game, and our unit right now, so to speak, is doing an exceptional job at it. We had a tough day on Saturday, but, back to the drawing board, and we'll be just fine going into the rest of the season, I think.
I was going to say, sometimes you learn more from losses than you do wins. So maybe that Middlebury game, what are some things the team kind of took away to apply to the future to, make sure, you turn a few more victories here?
Yeah, I think one thing that we all came away with was that we didn't necessarily play our game, which is, being physical, running through ground balls, not getting too high, not getting too low. And we came out a little bit flat on Saturday, whereas Middlebury came out very hot. And it's tough to kind of get back against a really good team like that. But, Coach Danino said it after the loss in the locker room that, it wasn't really a loss, so to speak, but we lost an opportunity to kind of prove what kind of team we are. After a couple of years of doing how we did, not so well, having a year like this where we start out 5-0, a lot of teams are going to doubt us and think that it's a fluke right now, but we know in our locker room what type of team we are. So if we're able to come out and play our game, we feel like we can play with anybody in the country. It's just about executing our game plan and coming out with our style of play.
I was going to say, like, for Coach Anino, he's been building this up for a couple of years now. I mean, how sweet was it a few weeks back to get him his first NESCAC win?
Oh, that was awesome. Yeah. It was so amazing. So awesome to see the smile on his face, but he's been working for it for so long. We've been wanting to get that win for him for so long. It's been a long time coming, and it was just so gratifying to know that all the work that we put in, all the 5 a.m. lifts that we go through, the off-season training, conditioning sessions, knowing that has paid off was really gratifying. But at the same time, none of our goals were really to win the first NESCAC game or get Coach's first NESCAC win. We got a lot more goals that, are about playing later in the month of May and, continuing our success throughout the entire season and not just having a couple wins in the beginning and then falling off. We want to be able to keep this train rolling and get coaching, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on more NESCAC wins. So it's important for us to kind of stay on track and not get too high, but I think we're in a really good spot right now finding out what our team is, who our team is, and just continue to keep that train rolling.
I'm curious, have you always been a long pole?
Actually, I started out as a short stick midfielder back in middle school. That's kind of what everybody was playing. And then on our middle school team, actually, we were short a couple defenders. And my coach, he said, you know what, you're an aggressive guy. I think you could play defense. He put the long stick in my hand. But I told him, I was like, Coach, I love scoring goals. I love playing offense. He was like, okay, so we'll make you an LSM, and you could go on both sides of the ball. So that's really where it started for me. It was in middle school, but I've played all around throughout my career, like whether it's close defense or midfield. It's just being in lacrosse, you kind of need to be an athlete and be able to play in multiple phases of the game. So just developing that at a young age, I think has definitely helped me out throughout my career.
Great. Well, any other thoughts you want to share on the season so far you wanted to mention, or is your time as a Bobcat to date that we haven't got to talk about yet?
Well, I just think, being a Bates athlete is such a great experience because all the other athletes on campus are so supportive and, being able to walk around campus and have friends, congratulating us on wins or helping or letting us know that they'll be at the next game. Like it's such a nice feeling to have the support of everybody else on campus. And also, it's such a close-knit community. I remember in the fall, I was trying to get to every single sporting event. So I went to football games, soccer games, basketball games. It's so nice to go out and cheer on all the other teams for sure.
Bobcats are home this week. You can catch them in action on Wednesday at 5 o'clock against Maine Maritime Academy, and then a big game on Saturday against the nationally ranked Wesleyan team at 1 o'clock, also right here at Garcelon Field. Ben Miller, the NESCAC leader right now in cause turnovers per game, and our male Bobcat of the week. I hope we see a lot more yard sales throughout the year. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks to the new Leahey Field turf, the Bates baseball team played their earliest home game so far this century as they hosted Plymouth State last Thursday. Although the Bobcats lost 1-0 in 10 innings, they got a great performance from starting pitcher, sophomore Kenny Carlisle. Making his first collegiate start, Carlisle threw 6 shutout innings, striking out 5 batters along the way. Well, Kenny, you had the privilege of becoming the first pitcher to pitch on our brand new turf infield here at Leahey Field at Bates. 6 shutout innings against Plymouth State. What was it like being out there, getting that opportunity, and what was working so well for you?
It was great. I mean, it was awesome to just see everybody here on the new field. It was a lot of fun to pitch out there. I could tell that the wind was blowing in, and it was cold. It was just a tough day to hit, so the approach was really just get it in the zone and kind of see what they can do, and I was fortunate enough to make it out with no runs. Having
the opportunity to be the first pitcher to kind of break that field in, I mean, I'm sure you've been practicing on it a lot, but how cool is that? And playing a game in March here would previously been unthinkable, right?
Oh, yeah. It was great, and I'm from Maine, so to pitch in March is unheard of. I've never done it, and if you did, you were freezing the whole time, so it was really cool to be out on the new field, and we really needed kind of a good pitching performance out of us because we've been struggling recently. So I was honored with the starting role of that game, and it meant a lot. It was first collegiate start, I was going to say. Yes, sir. So what's the difference, I guess, mentality-wise when you're starting versus coming in and out of the bullpen? It's just a comfort thing. You kind of control the game, and I've always loved starting because you just get the ball, and it's like, I'm going to do everything I can to give our offense the opportunity to win this game, and that's your job. And for me, it's easier to do that job if I can just start from the get-go and do that and establish a game on my terms. So I enjoy it that way, But either way, as long as you're getting in the game, that's what you want.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned you're from Maine. Obviously, went to South Portland High School. Tell me a little bit about that experience growing up in the South Portland area and playing baseball. What made baseball your sport?
I mean, I loved it. There's nowhere I'd rather grow up. And I was fortunate enough. South Portland's a great baseball town. It's a small town, but we have great coaching there. I was fortunate enough to win a state championship there, so I've been in a winning program, and I've kind of seen what it takes to win. And growing up, I played soccer, I played hockey, and I played baseball. I didn't pick a sport to love. It was just, this is kind of how it worked out. But my uncle played baseball, he pitched, my grandpa pitched, so it was in the family, and I always loved talking about it with them and having them at the game. So,
did they play in college?
My uncle pitched at Dartmouth.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And so when you were looking at schools, what made Bates the place for you, coming about 35 minutes north?
I loved the campus. I liked the coach a lot. It was just something about it clicked. And I wanted to get out of Maine, honestly, and then kind of last minute I took a visit here, and it's just something about it.
Excellent. Then tell me a little bit about the team this year. What's this group like? I know you got some other guys from Maine as well.
Yeah. I love playing with other Maine guys, A lot of them are making a big impact too. I think we've gotten off to a frustrating start, but I think we can stay together and pull it together. I just think we got to, keep getting better every single day, and we're going to turn this into a good season.
I guess the idea is, you want to play your best when you get to NESCAC play, right?
Exactly. These games ultimately don't matter all that much. It's just kind of to tune up. And I've heard about seasons where we start 0-6 and then finish first in the NESCAC. So it's got to click. It's got to happen soon, but I have confidence in this group. Yeah,
you have 12 NESCAC games, 12 games that matter. Yeah. That's such a short season. What's that kind of like? It makes every game a huge deal, right?
It makes every game a huge deal. It makes every weekend a huge deal, because you're also playing 2 games in a day. So if you lose the first one, you have to quickly flip your mental and go into the next. And that's what I think is great about starting, because if you start that second game and you lose the first, it doesn't matter. You can still set the temperament for that next game.
And then last year, as a rookie, you appeared in 4 games out of the bullpen. So you got a taste of college baseball. What's kind of some things you learned from that experience, you're applying now this year? You've already made 3 appearances this season.
Throw strikes.
Yeah.
Throw strikes. That's for me especially, that's kind of just the thing. As if I'm getting in trouble, it's because I'm not living in the zone. So that's been my main focus this whole offseason. I've been working with the coaches, and I've been spending a lot of time just trying to live in that zone.
Yeah, you don't need to try to do anything too fancy out there.
Not at all, no.
Yeah. But what do you throw?
I throw a fastball, I throw a curveball, a slider, and a changeup.
Okay, so 4 pitches.
4 pitches, yeah.
You're starting, like, against Plymouth State, for instance, are you establishing the fastball kind of early and then mixing in more pitches?
Yeah, you know, if I can get away with just fastball, slider for the first couple innings and then work in the other pitches, that'd be great. Last year, I'm pretty sure all my strikeouts were on fastballs. So it was really just throw a fastball and see what happens. That's kind of the mentality I have as a pitcher. And where I found success is if you can just throw fastballs in the zone, it's hard to hit. See what the batters can do, but that's what I try to do.
You, so far, no runs allowed, 7 strikeouts through 7 2/3 innings. So you mentioned throwing strikes being an emphasis. 91 pitches. What was it like to kind of stretch out a longer outing after having been a reliever?
That was great.
Yeah,
I haven't done that in a couple of years, but that's what you want to do. I talk about like taking over a game. It's just I want to go as long as I can. You're gonna have to drag me out of there. So I had to convince them for one of those innings, but they let me get it, which was great. Yeah,
were you? I mean, even after 6, were you saying, "Let me pitch a 7th"?
Absolutely, but they took me out before I had the chance to convince them there.
Gotcha, excellent. Well, I guess any other thoughts you wanted to mention, on the season so far, and what we can expect to see from the Bobcats, kind of moving forward here?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I love seeing people at the games. It was really cool to see, the people you see day to day on campus in the gym working, and then they get to see you perform out there. So that was really cool. So. If you're listening, try to come out to some games, and we're going to perform for you, we promise.
This Saturday, we have a doubleheader. MIT, that should be a lot of fun, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right there at Leahey Field in the middle of campus, starting at noon, so make sure you make it out for that. And Kenny, thanks so much for joining us on the Bobcast. Congrats again on a great outing against Plymouth State, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Winter sports are almost all wrapped up, with track and field having competed at the NCAA Indoor Championships last weekend, and with 7 Bates swimmers head to the NCAA Championships this Wednesday through Saturday. For track, junior Ross Tejeda placed 13th in the mile, good for second-team All-America honors, while senior captain Truman Williams placed 17th in the 400 meters, and junior captain Carly Civarelli finished 19th in the 20-pound weight throw. Another winter sport that recently finished its season is squash, as a trio of Bobcats earned all NESCAC honors, as announced last Wednesday. First-year Dennis Welty was not only second-team All-NESCAC, he was also the NESCAC Men's Squash Rookie of the Year. Meanwhile, senior captain Alec Spiro earned first-team All-NESCAC honors for the third time, and sophomore Navya Gupta was first-team All-NESCAC as well. The search is on for a full-time head coach, but outgoing interim head squash coach Ricky Silbersher joins us this week on the Bobcast to tell us her story, how she came to Bates in January, and how proud she is of our squash teams.
Adrian Scheibels, a wonderful assistant AD, and I went to Smith grad school together. We're going to put behind our hands, say 30 years ago, like no one heard it. And came out of the exercise sports studies program together with a graduate degree. And so she and I have been alumni together and friends forever. So when the program got disrupted for a moment, she just had a light bulb go off and called me and said, is there any way in the world that you could, imagine coming up here and just helping us out to finish the season? And I thought of it, I said, give me 24 hours. So I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I can't say no. It's natural to me, coaching in general, and going back into squash was an exciting prospect, and coming back to college life is really exciting and natural. So it was a yes, and that was it. So I packed up and I've been, and I just landed, and everyone's been, I have to say, really amazing. I have to say this administration and this department, just super organized and warm and inclusive and helpful and responsive. It was like the ultimate team. I felt like I dropped into the ultimate team that you want out of a college life, whether you're a player or you're a coach, or you're admin. It just, you guys have all really, it's so it was a lot of work. It was a lot to do, but it was so much lighter because of the teamwork.
You were head coach at Colby in the 1990s, and college squash has probably changed a little bit since then. So jumping back into it, what's sort of the biggest changes you've noticed about college squash since your last time at the helm of a program?
Head tennis and squash at Colby for 3 straight years, no assistant. So you're all doing everything. So you have to be good at everything. We didn't have, okay, so I come back in and suddenly there's a score. There are scoreboards everywhere. So suddenly there are no clipboards and with pens and pencils. And so much is more streamlined. There are different people handling different things. There's a team manager, handling a few things when the coach was away, and all kinds of other basically technology has entered in a big way. So there's that. But it's also the game, the level, I think, of college squash is absolutely bumped up just slowly and surely, so that I'm looking at these kids and thinking that I would expect sort of a similar level. And it was definitely a stronger level, because I just think the game has intensified, and the study of it at a young age has intensified in a deeper way through the squash community. So that was exciting to walk into this like skill set and go, oh, this is going to be fun, because these people really know how to play squash. I was very transparent with the kids to begin with and say, look, I have a lot of skills and I'll hit the ground running with all of them, but I'm not going to fuss with your own techniques. You come already finished, done and dusted with that. I'm not going to tweak that. I'll work on other stuff that it seems like the program needs. So they were, I was clear with them about that. And then that came, I learned a lot from them too, just about how things are going in the squash world. And I came up to snuff pretty quick with that, with their help.
Of the matches you were able to, run and lead the team into, what's made the most memorable match for the men's squash team and the women's squash team that you'll take away from this past winter here?
Well, I had to say, and this is a cheat, like it's super easy to say this because it's, everyone likes a win. But I walked in, I met them on Sunday, January 26th, I think, at their lineup for the match against Wesleyan, which was a, the head was on the block for both of them to get to qualify for NESCACs. I'm like, didn't know anyone's names yet. They didn't know me. Like, how do you do? And they won. They both won. And it was a hard fought day. So I said to them after, I said, thanks guys. You made it look, you made me look good. I have to say that was a charming way to start the season. And I think finishing with nationals was crazy. Like the women got handed a tough draw because we were seated bottom. We hit the top seeds in Amherst. So we gave it our go. And then the men, of course, had the run at Summers Cup, which was really exciting. I hadn't looked at stats before I came in. I didn't want to get to be attached to stats. I really wanted to be completely all in for their I don't know, the psychic healing of a team that has been without just for a bit. and be like, all right, that's my goal. My job is to just be there for them and create a family out of this, and more so even. So that was I wasn't thinking about stats when I looked and saw that this was the first time they'd almost took Summers Cup for the first time. That was pretty cool. But it was also nice not to be attached to that, to let them decide what it meant to them, and just be behind them and support everybody.
We have some all NESCAC selections. For the men's side, you have Alec got first team once again, senior captain, and then Dennis Welty not only got second team all NESCAC, he was named the NESCAC Men's Squash Rookie of the Year.
And I have to say, wait, is a noise that the kids hate but love, and I had to make that because that's an insane accomplishment for Dennis. So I just had to insert that before we finish off with our beautiful Navia, right?
Yes, Navia Gupta for the women's team got first team all NESCAC. But I mean, for Dennis being the Rookie of the Year, having to play at number 2 as a rookie, that's not an easy task. What can you say about what he was able to achieve this year?
Well, Dennis's work ethic, just his energy. So when he walks in the room to play squash, without any agenda or goal or pressure, he's full on. So he raises the bar for everybody, for all of us, because his laser interest in excellence is just there, and it just, the whole room becomes focused on that, and everyone gets excited because there's energy around that, and so everyone's at their best, and so he does that to start, and then when he goes into his matches, it's exactly that. He warms up with intensity. He plays, everything is with an absolute commitment to each gesture and each intention, and that's exciting for me as a coach to work with and to see, and I know that it was good for his teammates, and because of that, he was also voted to be a captain, a shared captain next year. So that's a vote of confidence for a freshman to be put in that role. So yeah, well deserved. And when I was able to tell him myself, and I really, really wanted the privilege of that, because I knew it would mean a lot to him, and just his face cracking into this giant smile and being able to, tell each of the 3 of them about this just meant a lot to me. It's like payday to see all their work pay off, to be valued. I think we all do well under that feedback.
Alec being first team once again, he actually finished the year really on a high note. Alec, I noticed, won 2 of his final 3 matches of the season. All those 3 matches were at nationals, including his final one there of his Bobcat career. So that's got to be a sweet way for him to go out.
I'm really glad you mentioned that. It's a very smart and thoughtful way to do it, because he struggled with an ankle injury for the weeks that I've had him, and I know it's tortured him, because his expectations for himself are so high. He had a rock star start as a child, winning everything in sight everywhere, and I think he put a lot of pressure on himself, and as you do, to try to follow those images and goals of being excellent, and the wonderful sort of deep feelings that you get from being that person, and what it does to your life in general, and not just your squash history and stats. But he came out, he figured it out, he got out of his own way, and then for the final match, he really worked out how to streamline all his incredible skills so that they just flowed, and he just went out. It was the calmest. I could tell he was going to win, because the way he went out for the warm-up was just so everything was flowing. There wasn't a hitch, there wasn't a doubt, and you just knew he just he rocked it. He canceled that guy. It was incredible to see him make the number 1 look like what was he doing on the team. That was it was quietly satisfying to just know that he did that for himself. He made that happen, and that's his final statement for college squash. He deserves that.
We mentioned Navia, of course, first team all NESCAC for the women's team, playing at number 1. We talked about Dennis playing at number 2 as a first year. Navia playing at number 1 as a sophomore, obviously against, the best team, the best player the other team has to offer. That's a challenge. I really thought she really showed how much of a team player she was when she left CSA individual nationals early to come back and help the team win there against Wesleyan, right?
Basically, Navia has an elegance in her approach to just everything. She has a very well-balanced harmony and maturity in how she approaches. So she's a dedicated, ethical, well thought out everything. So when she goes into practice, when she goes to play as a teammate, she's everyone's favorite again. She'd be obviously a captain if she wasn't going away, sadly, for to London School of Economics next year. But yeah, for this year, I watched her. There was never a letdown. Her it's very rare, especially with how demanding squash is, and it's relentless. You can't pause for a second. You're just playing nonstop until the end of the match. And she never mentally ever let down. She just stayed so in the zone, whatever the result was, and was gracious and played with grace. Like, it never seemed like she was rushing, but she was there at every ball. That's really, really hard. So I mean, amazing individual, somebody to watch for the future.
Yeah, certainly. And then I noticed, obviously, after the men got runners up in the Summers Cup, they got a little plate for their efforts and showed a little sense of humor, eating off the plate. Max Good, senior captain. And what does that say about the dynamics of the men's team? Showing some levity there.
When I did some feedback with them at the end of season wrap up meetings, the feedback I got the most was, thank you for the off court stuff was the most meaningful. And I know, that when we had these tortuously long bus rides, I thought, this is we're all shut in together, in this wonderful, opportunity to really bond. And the way to do it is to freaking have fun. So I'm going to set up some little silly rules, like the last person late on the bus does 20 push-ups or sings a song on the microphone before we pull out, like from the alumni gym. And I wouldn't let the bus driver leave until that person sang a song. Just loosening everybody up and understanding, like, look, it's just like summer camp. We're in this ridiculous 8-hour journey or something. Let's just make the most of it and have fun. And we did. And I think it's really important to keep that perspective. Like, it's not something you do to use, to get somewhere. You just go, this is actually part of it. Part of being a team is just having a whole lot of fun. And so, we had a lot of fun. And by the time, the guys were really heartbroken about the plate, because it meant that they just barely missed the bowl. And we got, you have to sit and watch the other team celebrate with their bowl right in your face. And it was so hard for them, I know. But they took that sort of like feeling on the bus, and I was like, no, let's rip this up. Let's make fun of this. The plate will just be a stepping stone to the bowl. So let's make use of the plate. We'll eat off it. It's not something you have to stand and hold and say, this is the runner-up trophy. This is our dinner plate. And then next year we'll have our giant, like champagne bowl or something. And that's how I wanted them to feel about it. Just so that perspective is a huge part of the team experience, constantly checking yourself and having perspective about it, so that it feels like you're always enjoying it for one reason or another.
What are thoughts you wanted to share about your time as the interim head coach here of the squash program? I'm sure it maybe went by pretty quickly, but anything else you want to miss we haven't got to talk about yet?
Yeah, I think just to kind of wrap up and show, I felt like it was wonderful to reacquaint myself with so many things that I felt I had to offer, and to feel that so much of it was taken in was really meaningful to me in my life. My mother had actually just died about a month before, and dealing with all that stuff is one kind of way of being, and it doesn't ask you life questions. It doesn't ask you into life. It's more about reflecting life, and to be able to be asked into doing stuff that's so life-giving and be able to answer that and be right in it just reminds you that, like, life is just a constant gift every day that you just want to dance with. And I feel like that Bates gave me a great opportunity. I mean, I'm happy that I was able to say yes, but also you guys gave me something too. And I also just, like, in thinking back, and looking ahead, and my investment in the program was just to get the kids, like, thinking about as human beings at their highest level, to really answer to themselves, answer to each other, and have more dialogue than ever, get a voice around things that they maybe hadn't before, figuring out how to strike a balance as a team, as human beings, and then do that on the court. And I hand that over to the next coach. And my goal also is, I've been talking to Paul Asiante, who's an old friend and who's like the kind of like Mac Daddy of the college squash world, and trying to get him involved in, too, to just sort of like open up dialogue about what's best for Bates. And, I'm sure you guys will find the right person, but I really care. And I care about somebody coming in to build on what I've left, and just get these kids cranking and make an amazing program happen out of this. So it feels like a giant team project that's just beginning.
Ricky, thank you so much for joining us on the Bobcast. Really appreciate your time here as the interim head squash coach, and congrats again on such a strong finish of the season for both teams.
Thank you for the time. I really appreciate you. Love you all. Go Cats.
Next time on the Bates Bobcast, We'll recap the softball team's season opening trip to Florida and look back on what should be an exciting NCAA championships for the swimming teams. All that and more next time on the Bates Bobcast.